the High Court in Pretoria has ruled that former President Jacob Zuma should return to prison. Zuma was granted medical parole in September, but the court has found that the process was flawed. It ruled that the former Correctional Services Commissioner should not have overruled the Medical Parole Board. In the meantime, Zuma has wasted no time challenging the decision. I'm now joined by South African editor and journalist Dianne Hawker to unpack all this. Hello, Dianne, and thanks for joining us. What was the court's reason for saying Zuma should return to jail?
Good evening, Sulaiman, and good evening to the viewers as well. Well, the court actually looked at the actions of the former Correctional Services Commissioner, who is Arthur Fraser. Now, Arthur Fraser is a former state security member, and interestingly, he was appointed to the State Security Department a few years ago by the former President Jacob Zuma and subsequently moved to Correctional Services. And basically, the court looked at the decision that he made, which was not in line with what the Medical Parole Board had recommended, and said that that decision was actually unlawful. The Medical Parole Board found that Jacob Zuma was actually unwell, but not unwell enough to be sent home on medical parole because he was not incapacitated or in such a state of illness that he couldn't continue his short sentence in jail. And the crux of the matter is then that the court ruled that Arthur Fraser's actions were actually unlawful, and they found that the decision needed to be overturned. Sulaiman.
Well, explain to us how the initial decision to release Zuma was challenged.
Well, of course, with most things that are related to the former president, there tends to be quite a lot of court action around that. We saw that after the decision was made, a number of organizations in South Africa actually put up their hand to challenge the initial decision by Arthur Fraser. The Democratic Alliance, the main opposition party in South Africa, was one of the challengers, but they were also joined by lobby groups such as AfriForum, as well as the Helen Suzman Foundation, both of which are NGOs that generally tend to litigate on constitutional issues. Now, they went to court along with the Democratic Alliance, and the court joined all three of those cases and then came out with that judgment.
And how is the former president responding to this decision?
Well, within a few short hours from the decision actually being made public, we actually saw legal papers issued by the former president's lawyers saying that his legal team is applying for leave to appeal. Now, the consequence of that action is that it could actually see him not entering prison immediately. The Correctional Service Department will have to decide whether they will act immediately on this court judgment or whether they will wait and see what happens with the leave to appeal application. So by him filing papers this quickly, it has a potential of actually delaying any action as far as him actually entering court on a more, or entering jail on a more immediate basis.
So quickly, what does this latest development mean? Will he go to prison?
Well, it does become a little bit murky. What we saw is earlier on the Department of Correctional Services saying that they will study the judgment. There's a 34-page judgment, and it's a judgment that is sets out all the reasons as to why the court has made this decision. But of course, now we are seeing that there are legal papers that have been filed by the former president. And of course, the different organizations would have to respond to that. So it's likely to see a lot more of a legal merry-go-round when it comes to this case. And we could potentially not see him go to jail immediately, depending on what the Department of Correctional Services decides. There are instances where there are court cases and appeals where the appeal actually has the ability to stop the case. But you will probably see the likes of the Democratic Alliance saying that there's no need for the outcome of this judgment to be stopped by him filing legal papers. So quite an interesting outcome that we're seeing now. Of course, it's just a week away from Christmas. And I found it quite interesting that the judgment came out just before Christmas as well. It gave the impression that the former president could potentially spend his Christmas in jail. But of course, if the Department of Correctional Services decides to delay on that until such time as the follow-up court proceedings are dealt with, then we might only see some sort of action on this decision unfolding in the new year. Sulaiman.
Well, many thanks, Dianne, for unpacking this for us.